Hi, I'm Roland. Once again, you're welcome to my YouTube channel where you'll comprehensively learn how to configure, verify, and troubleshoot Cisco devices using simulators like Packet Tracer and GNS3. Remember, everyone interested in the field of networking can benefit from subscribing to this channel. Beginners, novices, experienced network professionals, candidates that intend to sit for the Cisco certification exams. Without further ado, let's begin. Recall that in my last class, we configured a standalone Cisco router and named it Room. Okay, now we'll configure another router, name it London, connect both of them together, assign IP addresses to them, and verify their configurations. At the end of this video, you'll be able to set up a router interface for connection, assign IP addresses to router interfaces, verify layers 1 to 3 connectivity on the router, verify layers 1 to 7 connectivity on the router, view and explain the output of the show running config, view and explain some interface statistics, view and explain some contents of the flash memory, and know the commands used to display the configuration register value. Now we'll select our router, 2811 series router. Okay, our PC, and then our cable, a console cable, and connect from the router console port of the router to the RS232 port of the PC. Now we can either connect these two routers first before going into the second router to configure it, or we configure it first before connecting in this case. So I think I should go into the router and configure first. So I'll log into the router via the terminal hyperterminal as usual. Okay. Enable. Now, if you are not conversant with this configuration, I advise you go through the previous video because we treated this explicitly in the previous video. Okay. Now, host name London, line console, to give our line console password, okay. Now we use the same password used in the Roam router. For line console, we gave it Cisco. Okay, login, exit, line VDY, password, CCNP, login, exit, enable secret password, enable secret, class. Let's save our configuration. Good. Now we need to connect these two routers with a serial cable. Now there are different types of serial cables here, but I'll prefer the one with clock because I want to tell you something about clock rate. Now, but We don't have serial interfaces on this router, as you can see, just fast Ethernet interfaces and auxiliary and console. Okay, but the serial cable emulates the WAN environment, wide area network. What that means is that both routers are not located in the same city. This, like I said, is going to be in Rome. This will be in London. Okay, so we need to go to the local store and buy our interface, the model for the interface rather. Okay, so with this simulator, you click on the router. Now, as you can see, there are different models here. Okay, and as I click on any model, you can see the picture changes to describe the model as well as a written description of the model. Okay, here I'm interested in serial. I recommend you use this WIC-1T rather. Okay, now I can click and drag this the back of the router. However, you can see it's telling me that cannot add a model when the power is on, just like a real life device. So I need to switch this off first and then click and drag. Now, if I need a second model, I'll click and drag. There are about 4 slots here, but for the purpose of this configuration, this is okay. Don't forget to power on your router. I'm done with that router. I'll do the same thing here. Now remember, before powering off your router, you should ensure that you've saved your configurations, else you lose everything you configured on the router. Okay? Good. Now, I need to connect both routers using the serial cable. As you can see, the serial 0/3/0 interface is now present. So I'll connect, drag to this other router and connect. Now I want to explain something about clock rate. Now, the clock rate has to be entered on an interface that you connect a serial cable to. Basically, in the case of this simulator, the one you're seeing a clock sign there. And so the interface you select first after clicking this cable is where you have to enter the clock rate command. Now, the clock rate specifies some electrical signals or connectivity between both interfaces, serial interfaces on the router connecting together, connecting themselves rather. Okay, now in a production environment, when you have a wide area network connection, you have the service providers in between, and the duty of the service providers, or one of the duty of the service providers, is to provide devices that will do the clocking. And so for every connected serial interface to the service provider environment, they have a device called a DCE device, data communication equipment device. Okay, now the router by default is a DTE device, data terminal equipment device. But in order to allow this router emulate a DCE device, we'll enter the clock rate command here, which must be entered for between any two connecting serial interface on the router. One has to do the clocking for the other. In other words, if I do clocking or enter clock rate command here, I don't need to enter it here. If I enter it here, I don't need to enter it here. I hope that is clear. Okay, now I log into this router. This is the router we configured in the last class. Okay, good. Remember your password always. The line console password, Cisco. Enable. The enable password class, enable secret password class. So I need to go to the interface mode to set up the interface and give it an IP address. Now you go to the interface mode after you must have entered the global configuration mode. So right now I need to verify the interface. It's very, very important. Okay, because if I enter a wrong interface and give it a wrong IP address, it's not gonna work. Okay, so this is serial 0/3/0. In real live device, it's gonna be written on it. Okay, so we come here, interface serial 0/3/0. You can see the mode has changed to config if mode. So we are in the config, we are the interface mode for serial 0/3/0. Now I'll enter the command IP address. Now it depends on the IP address you're giving. Okay, in this case we intend to use 192.168.10.1 on this interface. Okay, so the command is IP address. You enter the address, and then you follow it up with the subnet mask 255.255.255.252. This is /30. Now I'll personally do a video on subnetting. There you understand this better. But for the purpose of this class, note that the next interface address will have the same 3 octets here. First 3 octets. Then this will be different. What I mean is that on the other router connecting to this, I'm going to give it an address 192.168.10.2. Why? 2 interconnecting interfaces on the same network must have addresses from the same subnet. Take note. Now, next step is to enter no shutdown, but however, I need to enter a clock rate command like I said earlier on, because I have the clock sign here. Clock rate. Now, there are different clock rates here, but for the purpose of this class, we use this, either 6400, 64,000 or 56,000. Okay, clock rate 64,000. No shutdown. Then we exit. I'm done with that interface. I'll go and save my configuration. Always remember to save your configuration. Okay, I'll log into this other router and do something similar. Cisco, enable, class, conft. That's a faster way of entering configure terminal. Interface serial 0/3/0. You need to confirm that. Very important. Okay. No shutdown. Take note, I didn't enter the clock rate command on this interface because I've already entered it on the connecting interface. Okay, exit. Good, I'm done. Likewise, I'll go and save, and you save from the privileged exec mode, remember. Good. Now we are done giving IP addresses. Okay, next we need to verify our connections. Okay, now before we go further, let's take a break. a quick break. Hit the subscribe button if you've not subscribed to my channel, so that you can get updated on my subsequently posted videos. Okay? Good. Now, after configuring this, we need to verify our configurations. Now, part of the verification, the first verification command I want to treat here is ping. Now, ping tests layers 1 to 3 connectivity between two routers. In other words, if I can ping an interface from one other router, from one router to the other, it means layers 1 is working properly. Layers 1 is where we have the cable and connectors. Layer 2 is working properly, effectively, where we have encapsulation, and layer 3, where we have IP addresses, is also working properly. Basically, when you finish any configuration, one of the first tests you conduct is the ping, packet internet grouper. So I'll go into this router and ping this address, the address of this other router, to ensure that it goes. Okay, now you ping by just typing ping, then entering the remote or the destination IP address. In this case, my destination is 192.168.10.2. Oh, I don't think I've given this an address yet. Can imagine I've not given this interface an address. Good. So you can see that's why it wasn't going. Okay, good. I'll go back to the interface and just give it an IP address. This is very, very important for you guys, so that you learn how to troubleshoot. Okay, you can see there's no communication without an IP address. So I'll give this 10.2.255.255.255.0. You can see I forgot to give it an IP address here. Every interface must have an IP address. You can always go there and do what you've forgotten to do. Okay, so I'll come here and repeat the ping. Good. You can see that it's going. Now, when you see the exclamation sign, 5 of them from a router, it means it's going. Now, the output will differ when you ping from a host. We'll see that in the next class. Okay, now you can see that it went, but initially when you see the dot dot, it means it failed, just like what we experienced here. I'll do a different class on troubleshooting, but when you see exclamation, 5 exclamation marks or signs, it means it's successful. Okay, so this implies layers 1 to 3 from the Rome router to the London router, it's working. Now, trace route is another one, but trace route also tests layer 1 to 3, but it gives a step-by-step test along the path. We can't do that now because we have only 2 routers connected. Subsequently, I'll tell you how to do that. But we can do the third one, which is Telnet. Now, the Telnet tests layers 1 to 7 of the OSI model. We all know that ping tests layer 1 to 3. Now, because it's pinging, it's not a guarantee that layer 7 is going to work. It's not a guarantee that an email sent to the destination will go. It's not a guarantee that transfer file will be possible from the destination. You know, file transfer, email, they are all layer 7 protocols. Okay, so because of that, let's try Telnet. Now, Telnet means I can stay on my Rome router and log in remotely to my London router, even if I'm not physically connected there. That's exactly what I want to do. So you can see Rome, when I Telnet, it should change to London. Okay, the prompt should change to London. Take note. So you telnet by typing telnet, then the IP address of the destination to 168.10.2. Now it's asking me for a password. What password are we going to enter here? Recall from the first class, I told you that I'll tell you about Telnet in the next class. Okay, that's why we configured line VTY password. Now the password is going to be the line VTY password, and in this case, my line VTY password is what? CCNP. Okay, you can see it has changed to London. I'm now on London router. Wow, isn't that fantastic? From Rome, I'm logged into London router. So on this router, I can do whatever I want to do on this router as if I was physically present there in London. Okay, in this COVID-19 period, you'll discover that this kind of tool will come in handy. I'll just sit on my router in Rome and log into the London router. Good. When I type enable, now you can see it's prompting me for another password, and the password is what? The user exec password Cisco on that router. Okay. Oh, class. Sorry, the enable password. Good. Now I can do whatever I want here. I can show running config. I can view anything I want to view on this router. I'll tell you about these verification commands next. Good. So how do we go back to our router? I want to go back to the Rome router. You type exit. I'm back to Rome. Good. Now on the Rome router, the next verification command is show running config. Now the show running config displays all the configuration presently running on the RAM. A very important tool. Whenever you finish your configuration, it's advisable to view your configuration. You can see service password encryption was entered on this router, the host name ROM, enable password, enable secret, now more. Okay, I told you how to do this in the previous class. Okay, now let's scroll down to interface. You can see the interface. We have interface serial 0/3/0. We've given it an IP address. We've entered a clock rate of 64,000. Now we can always use these to troubleshoot. Show running config, very important tool. Okay, now the next verification command is show interfaces. This displays the statistics on the interface, each interface. Good. Now you can see fast Ethernet 0/0 is administratively down. Line protocol is down. Remember, we've not configured that interface. That's why it's down. All these statistics are related to fast Ethernet 0/0. As the class progresses, you understand some of these things better. Okay? Now when you scroll down, you can see another interface, 0/1, and everything underneath it. But I want us to take a look at the serial 0/3/0 that we configured. Good, see it there. You can see it's up. Line protocol is up. Okay? You can see the IP address and subnet mask /30. Good, very important. In the troubleshooting class, I'll tell you some other things about this. Okay, that will be my next class probably. Okay, now so all these things are related to this interface. Good. Now the next verification command is show IP interfaces. Now the show IP interfaces command displays IP related statistics of the interface. Later we'll understand this better. Okay, but you can see Here we will know whether our access list is configured. I'll do a class on access list, very important. Okay, we'll know whether split horizon is enabled. Okay, we'll learn about some things there, but for now let's continue. Okay, now we also have the show controller serial 0/3/0, for example. Now this helps us to verify our clock rates and our DC interface. As you can see, now you can see it's telling me that DCE version 35 clock rate 64,000. So that tells me this is the DCE interface. If I go to the other router, you discover that it tell me DTE. So with this, I'll be able to know whether I've configured the right interface for clock rate. Take note. Then we have show flash. Now the show flash command displays the contents of the flash memory. The flash memory, it's where the Cisco IOS is stored by default. Okay, and that command also displays the size of the flash memory. As you can see, it's telling me that the name of the iOS name and version. The iOS name is also here. Very important. This is the iOS name. Now there are some other software or some other things stored in the flash memory, as you can see, and you can see the size of the flash and the size being used. Okay, now finally, show version. Now the show version command displays the version of the software is running on this router, including the iOS name and version. Okay, and you can see this image file is this. Now you can see this is the same with this. Now for those preparing for the certification exams, take note. Such questions, you can find such questions in your objectives. Okay, you can see to view the iOS name, show flash displays it, as well as what? Show version. You find questions like this in multi-choice questions. Choose two: this, show flash, and show version. That's a relevant tip. You thank me for that later. Okay, now if you look at this very, very well, you discover that you can see the version of the ROM is written here. Okay, you can see other things like the size of the memory. Okay, you can see the number of fast Ethernet interfaces, the number of serial interfaces, the size of the NVRAM, the size of the flash memory. Okay, good. Then finally, take note of this, the configuration register value. Very important. Very, very important. Take note of this value. And this is the only command, or one of the few commands that displays the configuration register value. Show version. We'll talk about that in my next class, or in one of my classes. Okay, so that's all we have for today. Hope you had a great time attending this class. So as a recap, we continued from the last class where we configured this router as a standalone router. Okay, we now configured a second router called London. Okay, now after configuring London, we now assigned IP addresses. Okay, we assigned IP addresses to both routers after selecting the serial cable. Okay, after doing that, We now verified our router configuration. First, we pinged. We saw that the ping command helps us to verify layers 1 to 3 connectivity. We saw the Telnet command helps us to verify layers 1 to 7 connectivity. Show running config that displays the active configuration running on the RAM on the router. Show interfaces that displays the interface statistics. Show IP interfaces that displays the IP related interface statistics. Show controller serial 0/3/0 that tells us whether the clock rate is properly configured on the DC interface. Show flash that displays the contents of the flash memory as well as the size and the iOS name. And then show version that displays the version of the softwares that are running on the router as well as the iOS name and flash size, flash memory size, and then the configuration register value. So hope you had a great time. Please do not forget to hit the subscribe button on your screen to ensure you get updated on my subsequent posted videos. Also, kindly drop a comment below. In addition, if you need further intensive training, email me. Thank you. Arrivederci.